What's up, everyone? Good to see all of you. We're on 5th Avenue and the corner of East 56th Street today. We are just getting the remnants of, I believe, the Hurricane Melissa that slammed into Jamaica. It was very, very windy and very, very rainy all day today, but it looks like it's clearing a little bit. So I'm going to take you along with me commuting home down 5th Avenue on the marathon weekend. The New York City Marathon will be taking place this Sunday. There's going to be so many different events and lots of excitement going on in the city this weekend. The hotels are going to be packed, the restaurants are going to be packed, and of course, Central Park, where the finish line is going to be absolutely packed. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this walk started. Speaking of hotels, by the way, to either side of me, you have 2 5-star hotels. You have the St. Regis Hotel and the Peninsula Hotel, which sits right here on the corner of 55th Street and 5th. They're just such beautiful and stunning buildings here. I'd say all up and down 5th Avenue, you probably have the highest concentration of 5-star hotels in the city. I'd probably even extend that all the way to 57th Street. Because if you think about it, you have the St. Regis right here, you have the Plaza Hotel, then you have the Peninsula Hotel, and of course in the Crown Building you have the Amman, New York. On 57th Street, Billionaire's Row, you have the Park Hyatt, New York, that sits in 157 West 57th Street. And then right across the street from my office, you have the Four Seasons Hotel, which just recently reopened. Across the street here, you have the University Club. This is one of my favorite buildings in the entire city. It's so stunning. And if you ever get the opportunity, you have got to go inside the University Club. It is just an absolutely breathtaking building that sits right next to the peninsula. Now, I was just thinking about that old Lord & Taylor building, which I believe Amazon recently acquired. And speaking of Amazon and big tech, we're just going through earnings seasons now, and Amazon just reported earnings after the bell today, and an unbelievable quarter for Amazon. One of the things that stuck out to me the most about the quarter is that CEO Andy Jassy said that we haven't experienced demand for AWS like this since 2022. And the same can really be said across all the major cloud providers, such as Microsoft with their Azure Cloud platform, and then Google Cloud with their Google Cloud platform. The biggest takeaway for me for the big tech earnings season, particularly out of Alphabet, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, particularly also at Meta, is that the capex spending boom on AI is not only going to continue, but it's going to accelerate in a massive way. Mark Zuckerberg came on the earnings call and said that they are going to extend and expand the amount of money they're spending on building out AI and creating their superintelligence, which leads me to believe that this should be a massive tailwind for the semiconductor sector going forward. And as I think about the market overall, right, once we have a correction in the indices, and we will, right, if you look back historically, we at least get 10% correction in the S&P 500 every year, right? That's normal for the index to take a trip to the 50-day. What I think is going to happen is once we get that correction, many people are going to be calling for the top. You see, I told you so, the bubble pop, the bubble burst, this was all nonsense. But in my opinion, what's going to happen is that will get bought up and this market will again reach new all-time record highs because the fundamental story is still there. Earnings season has been fantastic, particularly at a lot of these hyperscalers. Profitability is off the charts. Now, you had a little bit of a mishap at Meta due to a one-time tax charge due to the new Trump big beautiful spending bill, in which case Meta had to pay about $15 billion, but that is a one-time charge. It's still a cash flow generating machine. I believe Alphabet brought in terms of net income about $32 billion and had their first $100 billion in revenue quarter in company history. So the big tech giants are absolutely firing on all cylinders, and the demand is there, right? If you were on the earnings call at Amazon, if you're on the earnings call at Alphabet, right, with Sundar Pichai, excuse me, they say that the demand for their cloud platforms has never been higher, right? And to kind of paraphrase Mark Zuckerberg, he said, we are literally hungry for compute. We need more compute. So as long as the AI investment capex boom continues, I think the cyclical bull market continues. And that includes normal run-of-the-mill market corrections, where the market, in terms of the S&P, will correct 8 to 10%. The individual stocks will correct, maybe 12 to 24%, in which case the market will gravitate higher. So keep a watchful eye on that. I am quite pleased so far this earnings season. And at many of the large investment banks that have reported earnings, things look pretty good. The consumer looks very good. American Express, big credit card issuer, really no problems there. And the higher end consumer is performing very, very well. Now, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but there was just an unbelievable piece of data, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't want to get it wrong. You could fact check me on ChatGPT or something, but what I believe the statistic is that the top 10% of income earners in America today now account for roughly 90% of all consumer spending. I'll say that again, and please, maybe I'm off by a few percentage points, but about 90% of all consumer spending in the United States today is driven by the top 10% of income earners in America. And this goes along with kind of the trend that we've been following and calling out of sort of a lopsided economy of the extreme haves and extreme have-nots. And I think that's going to continue. So when you see all of these headlines, and very unfortunate headlines, by the way, of companies laying off their employees to the tens of thousands, right? We've all seen these headlines over the last week. Amazon laying off employees, UPS laying off employees. Pretty much every single major company in America going through these layoffs. It's going to sound crazy, but in terms of a market's perspective, okay, talking about equity valuations, to me that is bullish. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I'm happy that these people got laid off, but we're talking markets. And long term, that is going to be very, very bullish for those companies. And I think the vast majority of market participants are really caught off guard here because they're interpreting, oh my gosh, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, they're all laying off employees. Business must be doing terrible. But it's actually quite contrary. You're probably going to see gross margins explode even more, right? If you can think about what margins are at Amazon right now, one of the largest expenses for any business is employees. And with AI, you're essentially replacing employees, keeping revenues consistently growing while reducing spending. Well, your margins are going to blow out. And with higher margins normally comes higher valuations. Wall Street is willing to pay more for a company that is growing steadily with increasing profitability and profit margins. So this is going to be a very, very interesting, I would say, 5 years, because we're probably going to remain in this secular bull market. Could go on for more than 5 years. And a lot of people are going to be mispositioned for this. They're going to say, well, look at the news, look at the media, look at all the layoffs, look at all of the crazy stuff that's happening. How is the market still going up? This must mean the economy is doing terrible. And I wrote an article about this a few months ago where I said I wouldn't be surprised to see the unemployment rate in the United States of America consistently. I think that biker guy just hit that guy's car. In any event, I said I wouldn't be surprised if we see the unemployment rate in the United States of America consistently go up, but equity valuations and prices of stocks continue to go up. So you're going to see a little bit of a divergence there. You're going to see unemployment go up while you see stocks go up over the long term, right? Because earnings and liquidity drive price, and the narrative of AI and the build out and the infrastructure boom and the spending boom is still intact. What I'm looking for as we're looking up at Rockefeller Center, 30 Rock looks beautiful tonight. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for clues that the capex boom is going to come to a conclusion. And until I find any sort of inkling that it is coming to a conclusion, you want to have your bias be net optimistic and net positive on the market. Now, once you start seeing capex spending across the board at all of these big tech companies start to come down, and assuming that you don't start to see revenues come in and profitability come in from those investments, well, then you're probably going to have a downturn in the market and a downturn in the economy. So in any event, that's kind of my summary of earnings season, at least so far. This building that you see in front of us is 525th Avenue, which is a brand new development, which I always say is very reminiscent of 130 William in Lower Manhattan. It's peak rush hour right now. And we are going to make a right on 47th Street because I want to show everybody New York City's Diamond District. We're actually very close to 270 Park Avenue, which is JP Morgan Chase, brand new office tower. Ooh, it looks like the traffic lights are out. I don't know if you could see that, but perhaps it was a little bit of a power outage here. The lights are flashing on 47th Street. Ooh, that's right. I don't know how everybody's gonna be crossing the street because you can see that all the lights are out. There's always some form of chaos here. We'll just have to push our way through as pedestrians. Now, there was severe flooding today. I was at 34th Street, Penn Station, and the flooding was insane. It was like Grand Rapids coming down the stairs of the 1 train at 34th Street. It was absolutely insane. But the city does look quite nice. It looks really quite beautiful in the rain. Now we're coming up on the corner of East 46th Street and 5th Avenue. The Marlin Bar. Once we get right in front of 520 5th, I want to give you a close-up shot on the architecture of those buildings. Or I should say, the specific architecture of the windows, as it resembles 130 William. Coming down. Okay, right on the corner of 43rd Street. You're going to see the facade of the beautiful 520 Park Avenue, or 5th Avenue. 520 Park is also another great building, but that is a Zeckendorf development, with the architect being Robert A.M. Stern. Just look at those windows. It's very, very dramatic. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, but I believe this is going to sell really, really well. And you should have pretty good views of Central Park as well. You don't have too much obstruction northbound, but southbound you have a little bit of obstruction of your views. Passing a Chipotle. Chipotle really bombed earnings. And there was an interesting piece of data out of Chipotle showing that customers making under $100,000 a year are starting to shop there less. And I think ever since Brian Niccol left Chipotle, who is arguably one of the greatest fast casual CEOs of all time. He's now at Starbucks trying to turn around that company. But ever since he left, everything really kind of went downhill. I think they're increasing prices too much. You know, a steak burrito now, I mean, last time I've been there, it was like, you know, almost $17 for a burrito. I think if they really want to turn that company around, they need to make an option under $10. Right, with the tax, comes out to maybe $9.50 or $9.75 for a meal. Even if they have to give smaller portions, I think that'll really turn the company around, because, I mean, shareholders are really taking a beating there at Chipotle's. Hopefully they'll get a new CEO, or maybe just implement and enact some change, because you're pricing your customer base out. And it's not like, you know, wealthy people. It's kind of like what we talked about. The top 10% of income earners are making up 90% of the consumer spending. You know, you really don't have the bigwigs going to eat at Chipotle very often, right? So you got to keep prices low, even if that means reducing the portion sizes. I mean, what do you guys think? I personally would 100% probably go to Chipotle 1 or 2 times a week when I'm at the office, if they have an option, a lunch option of a smaller size, you know, value burrito under $10, right, in Manhattan. There'd be a line out the door. But to just gouge these people, you know, there comes a point, and this is the same mistake that Starbucks made. They hammer the price on these people to think that it's going to increase margins, but at some point it just alienates your original customer base. In any event, here we are outside the beautiful New York Public Library. Since we're here, we might as well take a walk through the Bryant Park Winter Village. As you can see, everybody lined up to the left to get the bus. Okay, we'll go ahead and make a right here. And we'll head down towards Bryant Park. They've very impressively been able to build the entire Winter Village within 2 weeks. So you have the Stephen Schwarzman building. Right behind it you have Bryant Park. You're also going to see the Radiator building, which is just a really, really stunning hotel. It's the Bryant Park Hotel. But the Park Terrace Hotel, which is just off to the left that you can see here, is also a very nice hotel in Midtown Manhattan. When we're inside Bryant Park, I'll give you a little bit better look at the Radiator building, which has, unfortunately, all scaffolding all over it, but it's a really stunning building. It's one of my favorite buildings in Midtown.
Like, I don't know where the guy was saying. It is just for people to Love Island, but their children.
All right, here's the first look at the Winter Village. Over here you have the Bryant Park Grill. It really does look beautiful. They do an amazing job every year here at Bryant Park. And it really smells great too.
Começa a discorrer.
Pretty soon, before you know it, they're going to have the Christmas tree here. I believe the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center arrives November 8th. I believe so. And that's just going to be really, really exciting. Now look at this. We're looking up at Bank of America Tower and Salesforce Tower. And here's all the Christmas stuff. And this view is looking back over the New York Public Library. Now we're going to walk by the main Bryant Park fountain. Ooh, look at the rat. That was a pretty big rat, too. And of course, you could see one Vanderbilt in the distance. There's some trick-or-treaters out there. This will be open through March 1st. We're officially in the long haul for the winter. Now going to make a right. It's a nice Cybertruck. We're now headed over towards Broadway. And there's a really good dollar slice pizza over here. It's one of the best dollar slice pizza places in New York. The best one is right by Grand Central Terminal. There's probably going to be a crazy line. Sometimes the line is even bigger than at Joe's. And I'm honestly not even a big fan of Joe's. But the line is always down the block. For some odd, obscure reason, I actually might have $2 on me. Let me see if I do.
And you guys get scolded. Like, my girl.
Oops. You guys are in luck today. May I please get one? Thank you, man. Samnita. Thank you, man. Have a good one. I haven't had this pizza in such a long time. Let's see how it is, everyone. Very good. This is probably the best $1.50 you're going to spend. And I'm not joking around. It's actually very good. Like if you get pizza anywhere else outside of New York,
By the way, turnout was decent.
this pizza's probably better than that. Anyway, let's start to head back towards Bryant Park. I knew I had $2 on me for some weird reason, and I can't stand carrying cash, so I might as well give it to those guys. Yeah, so check it out, West 40th Street. In my opinion, that's probably number 2. That's the second best dollar slice pizza place in New York. The best one is by Grand Central Terminal. Just gonna throw out the plate. I think I got to give it a score for everybody, right? So on a dollar slice score, which is such a different scale than a regular pizza score, this gets a 9-1 on the dollar slice score. It's a very good spot. Support the business. I'd much rather spend $1.50 than go to Artichoke Pizza, because Artichoke Pizza is not even that good in my opinion. You know, I respect those traffic guys, the NYPD traffic cops. I do. Everybody has to do their job, right? I could never do it. Could never do it. Because, you know, a lot of people that drive into the city are working class people. They're just trying to make a living. And like, my job is to be on the hunt to bust this guy's balls and give him a ticket for $75. I can't do that. I can't make a living doing that. Nothing against those guys. I'm sure they're great. I'm sure they're nice guys. But if you're driving into the city, you're probably working a regular job. Maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck, and then you get blasted with a $75 parking ticket. I can't do that. I can't do that. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. If you enjoyed that walking tour, subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video. And as always, we will see you in the next one, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. Take care.